Let's look for a moment at how that victory of light over dark can affect us inwardly. In the Festival of Light, Swamiji reminds us of that true identity. He says, "O children of the light, forsake the darkness. Know that forever you and he are one." And in the Bible, it tells us, "No one ascends into heaven who has not previously come down from heaven." So we are all children of that divine light. It's our true birthright. And the Gita reassures us, even the worst of sinners can cross safely over the ocean of delusion. There's the story of God coming to a little boy while the boy is at the dinner table. And God says to him, "I will give you whatever you can think of, whatever you want in this world, I'll give to you. And there's just one little condition, and that is that you finish eating the spinach on your plate." And the boy looked at God, looked at the spinach, thought for a moment, and said, "I'm sorry, I'm going to have to say no to that." And we can laugh at his giving up this life dream for a little bit of spinach, but we can also look at our own likes and dislikes and attachments that have attached themselves to us. And these are the things that make us forget that we are those children of light. And what happens when we forget? Well, Krishna very dramatically lays out the whole downward spiral when he says, "From attachment and frustrated desire springs anger. Anger produces delusion. Delusion causes forgetfulness of the self, which leads to loss of discrimination. That leads to the annihilation of all right understanding." Can you imagine a more thoroughly depressing scenario? And so what to do? What I wanted to say was that our frustrated desires are not of that caliber. Maybe they're just little things that throughout the day we're aware of. That slow car in front of us frustrated my desire to drive quickly. My child or my colleague or even the dry cleaner, didn't do what I wanted them to do. They didn't do as good a job as I wanted them to do. And these desires can lead to all of those nasty things if we focus on them, if that's where we put our concentration. And what can we do? We can't suddenly remove all of our desires, and some desires are good things, but we can remove our attachment to them. We can reduce that attachment. We can act without expectation of the fruits of that action. And even easier, we can meditate. We can affirm the positive. We can live in that way. We can affirm the light. We can affirm our true identity and identify with that inner self, with that divine light within each of us. Swami Kriyananda said that education is about learning, but yoga is about unlearning. Unlearning the thoughts and attitudes that hold us back. A disciple of Swami Shivananda, his name was Swami Satchidananda, and he was asked one day, "Are you a Hindu?" And he said, "I'm an undo." This is what we need to do, is undo and unlearn those aspects of ourselves that are unhelpful to us. There's the story of the sculptor who was asked, "Well, now, how exactly did you create this beautiful sculpture of an elephant here?" And he said, "Oh, it was very easy. I just took a block of marble and I cut away everything that wasn't an elephant." And this too is what we need to do, is to just cut away everything that isn't that true self, that makes us no longer a child of the light. We need to undo those tangles that prevent us from seeing ourselves in this way. And feeling that we're a child of light also gives us the confidence to keep trying. It gives us the motivation to want that, to aspire towards that, if we really identify with that as our goal. And it gives us the power to go ahead. We simply need to persist, one foot in front of the other, spiritually speaking. The cello player Pablo Casals was interviewed, and he was asked, "Well, you're 93 years old, you're still the best cellist in the world. Why do you practice for 6 hours a day on your cello?" And he replied, "Well, I think I'm improving." We can all keep improving. If he can do it, we can do it. And improving to the point where we reach that goal. There's no end to our spiritual journey until we reach, as Master said, until we reach endlessness. And Sri Ramakrishna said once that we've come here to enjoy eating mangoes in the garden. What point is there in counting the number of leaves on the tree or counting the branches? And so if we focus on the goal, all of these other things, all of these so-called frustrated desires are just not important. They're the little things. We're focused on the big thing. And so not to be distracted by those little things. Yoganandaji said, if you want to know God, live in the thought that you have Him already. And also to learn to see ourselves more and more the way that the great masters see us. Yoganandaji said once to a group of disciples, "You don't know how beautiful you are. I see you all as beings of light." He said that to the disciples, but he's also saying it to all of us. Thank you.
Diwali is a wonderful opportunity to celebrate the light. to talk about it, to think about it, meditate on divine light, and of course, the ultimate victory of good over evil and light over darkness. I was thinking about light yesterday, and I happened to go to the website, the Hubble, NASA website for the Hubble telescope. I think probably some of you have seen the pictures they've taken of space with the Hubble telescope. Beautiful, incredible pictures of galaxies, that are billions of light years away and are billions of years old. And so when we start to think about light, it's infinite, it's eternal, and we know that. And that telescope, for some reason, just somehow brings it right in front of us, how eternal and infinite it really is. And, of course, God created light in the beginning of the creation of the universe. The Word was with God. God spoke the Word, and with the vibration, creating a vibration. And He said, let there be light, and there was light. So between light and vibration, He creates the entire universe. And then with that light and with that vibration of Om, it began, the vibration had so many different rates and started to solidify as gases, solidify as fiery stars, condense even more to molten liquid, and cool down and condense even more to earth. And here we are on the earth, in these physical bodies that seem so fixed, doesn't it? Just seems so real. Boy, this thing seems so real. Am I light, or am I just this flesh and bones? I look in the mirror and I think I'm these flesh and bones. But really, we know in our minds that we're vibrating energy, we are vibrating light. So as Keshava said, what are we going to focus on, the vibrating light or the fact that it looks so fixed? Swami Kriyananda gave the example of a propeller on an airplane. We know that the propeller is moving and moving and moving and moving, and all of a sudden it looks solid. It's moving so fast that it looks solid. And that's how our 5 physical senses deceive us. This form seems so fixed. Like, how can we change this? But that's only on this physical world. We know that as that creation came down from the causal plane to the astral plane, to from the thoughts and ideas and consciousness of God to the light and energy of God to the astral world, down to the physical form. If we back that back up and we go to the astral world, there is no physical 5 senses for us to perceive that we think that we're this external reality, this fixed form that's outside of ourselves. In the astral world, everything is light and energy, and it's forming and it's unforming. And Swamiji tells us that we're so much more aware that our consciousness is what's creating our experience. And Swamiji also says that on the causal plane, in that causal world of thoughts and ideas, we understand that everything is consciousness. And we change the thought that we're separate from God, change the thought that we're anything but pure light, and we become one with that light. We become one with God. Master said, Yoganandaji said, that if you take 1,000,000 cubic feet of air, you can condense it down into 1 cubic foot into a cylinder. That's 1 cubic foot large. You break that cylinder, and that air will expand to fill all space, all the space around. And Yogananda said, if you want to feel God in all space. When you think that this cosmic light and this cosmic consciousness has been condensed down into one form, just think if we're able to break out of the delusion of that form, what will happen? Our consciousness will expand in light, Expand in God. Expand to feel all space. We were in Raniket recently at Babaji's cave, and it was a very clear night. And we could see, I don't know how many miles away it was. I'm not very good at distances. It could have been 50 miles away, maybe. Across the hills, across those hills, you could see one little light in one little village, and probably one little house in one village, so far away. Nothing is blocking that light. It can just reach all the way to where I was standing. And if you light a candle, it's a very dark, clear night. You light a candle outside on a hill somewhere, you'll be able to see that light from very far away. As long as there's nothing obstructing the light, that light can be experienced. Christ said, do not hide your light under a bushel. Do not hide it under a basket, but let it shine before all men. We have to experience that light. That's our dharma. And then let that light shine before others, and shine that light to others. And how do we do that, do you think? Meditation is a really good way to connect with that inner light within yourself. Most of us here, I believe, are practicing meditation, but in meditation, an early experience that we can have is of infinite peace. If we're able to still the restless mind, often the very first thing we feel is peace. But sometimes, one of the next things that we experience is light. The light of the spiritual eye, or through intuition, we're just able to perceive that subtle light that's all around us. And when we experience that light in meditation, even if it's a visualization that we're communing with an eternal reality that's surrounding us at all times, when we experience that light, then we know, we have unshakable faith that we are children of the light, and nothing can take us away from that reality. And when we can have that experience, we are children of that light. We are of the light. Then we've moved beyond the limitation of the form of this fixed body, and we've gone more to the source of that light, and we can be a source of light to everyone around us. And as we become a source of light to those around us, they also begin to experience light, and they become a source of light to those around them. This is how light is shared in the world and spread in the world. Because as long as we're living in this world of duality, of good and evil, day and night, of light and darkness, there will be darkness. And if there's darkness, who is going to be the ones to fight it? Those of us who stand for the light, those of us that stand in the light. And if this Diwali festival and holiday is to be celebrated by each of us, it also is the dharma of each of us to stand for that light. So we need to use our energy, use our willpower, use our creativity and time to experience that light. If we are not yet experiencing that light, know that it is within you, and know that it is possible, and don't stop until you have an experience of that light. And stand with the great ones, stand with Rama. Krishna says, fight. It's your duty in this world to fight. And we are like the citizens of Ayodhya. We are like the soldiers of Krishna. We are the disciples of the great gurus that tell us to stand for the light. We have come from the light, and we are living in that light. And it's our destiny to merge back into that light and share it with all. God bless you.